Hello, beautiful ladies. This is Ola Davis with another episode of When Marriage Hurts podcast. This is episode number 81, and this episode was inspired by a conversation I had with a friend of mine a day ago. So this friend, she is currently separated, and she's in the process of getting a divorce from a very abusive man. And she was telling me about some health issues she had a few years ago. And then she said something. She was like, I think I was also depressed at that time. I think I was depressed as well. And there was just the way in which she said it that just made me bust out laughing. Not that depression is funny, but it's the fact that she's talking about something that happened, I think about 7 years ago. And it was while she was having that conversation with me that she had the realization that she was depressed 7 years ago. She didn't have the awareness at the time. And she was like, you know what? I think I was also depressed at that time. And both of us just burst out laughing. And that's what I want to talk about today, ladies. I want to talk about what's often referred to as high-functioning depression. High-functioning depression. We tend to think that a person who is depressed would just not be able to get out of bed, would not want to eat, would just want to, die or be suicidal, all these extremes or, symptoms that we associate with depression. And while that is true for a lot of people who are depressed or have depression, it's not the experience of some people. Some of us, because of our upbringing, because of the society in which we were raised in, because of the kind of family we were raised in, the kind of values we were raised in, especially for those that are raised with a strong work ethic where, things like leisure and rest aren't valued and hard work and achievements are valued. When people like that are depressed, it is so possible for them not to even be aware that there's something wrong. They just go from day to day to day to day to day. They just keep on surviving. They just keep on doing the things that they do. And, the thought of slowing down or taking a break makes them anxious. Because staying busy is how they cope with this hidden form of depression. And I think this happens a lot to women that are in abusive marriages, especially when it's emotional abuse or any other form of hidden abuse that can go on for a long time without the woman even understanding what's happening or maybe thinking she just has marriage problems. We continue to take care of our kids. We continue to take care of our families. We continue to function at work for those that work outside the home. For those that work in the home, we just get obsessed with keeping the home straight, right? And also trying to keep the marriage together, despite everything that your spouse does to tear it apart. We invest so much of our time into praying, into studying the Bible, into begging God to change this situation for the better. And we know we are desperate. we know we're passionate, we know we're tired, we know we are at the end of our rope, but often we don't know that we are actually depressed, because we do get out of bed every morning and do it all over again, right? So the whole point of this episode is to raise that awareness. You can go on Google and search for high functioning depression to learn more about this, because I'm not a mental health professional, right? So there's only so much I can say about this. But I wanted to put this out there and raise that awareness that there is such a thing as being depressed and yet still doing all your normal daily activities. When the times that I've gotten so depressed to the point where I didn't want to get out of bed and I did not want to leave anymore, I've had that happen twice. The first time was in 2017, and then the second time was in 2021, right after I got separated. Now, both times that I had this kind of extreme symptoms, I knew, well, the second time around, not the first time, but the second time around, I was so scared. I didn't want to feel suicidal like I did the first time, so I knew enough to go see a doctor and get put on medication. But now, if you had asked me 3 years ago, how many times I've had depressive episodes, I would have said, oh, in my entire life, maybe twice. But now looking back, I'm just realizing that I was depressed for most of my marriage. I got married in 2010 and then separated in 2021. So I was married for 11 years. And now looking back, I can tell you that I was depressed for at least the last 6 years of that marriage. It wasn't just an isolated thing in 2017 and then another one in 2021. No, I was depressed for the last 6 years of the marriage. But I didn't know at the time. I didn't even know I was unhappy. I didn't even know, I had gone from someone who just had joy, even if I wasn't happy about anything, I just had this inner joy, to someone who didn't have any of that. I went from someone who had joy and peace to someone who now knew how to live without joy or peace. And this all happened so, the change was so subtle, I didn't even notice it happen. But I got used to functioning and doing all the normal things that you would expect a wife and a young mom to do. I did all of that. I had a few friends. Occasionally I would hang out with my friends. We'll talk on the phone. Guys, I was just living what I considered a normal life. I would go to church. I would, had a relationship with God, would pray almost every day, study the Bible almost every day. I was just living what I thought was, a typical life for a Christian woman who's married with kids. Now, I was aware of the fact that I had quote and unquote marriage problems. But they, it bothered me, right? It bothered me that my husband wasn't as loving or whatever. And I knew that it made me sad, right? But I just never knew that I was depressed until I had that breakdown in 2017. And the only reason I got to know, or what brought it to my consciousness that I was battling depression, was because I became suicidal. Think about that. I didn't know I was depressed until I became suicidal. But like I said now, I was depressed the whole time. I just didn't know it. I just didn't know it. So ladies, I'm encouraging you, to do a little research about this and to begin to take care of yourself. Begin to shed the load and the weight of or the expectation of having a successful marriage. Shed that away from your shoulders. A successful marriage is not your responsibility alone. Okay? There's two people in a marriage. One person cannot bear that responsibility by themselves. It will crush you. It will crush you if you want to bear it by yourself. So please learn about high functioning depression and begin to make changes about how you live, how you perceive your marriage issues, how you perceive the challenges you face with your husband. And I'm saying all of that because I know not everyone is going to leave this kind of relationships, right? But at least in order to care for yourself, you have to change how you perceive these problems. You have to change how you respond to these problems so that you can live a good, healthy life, not just for your children or your family, but for yourself. Okay, so I'm keeping it short and sweet on this episode. I hope you all have a blessed week. And I just want to mention this for those who do not know. We have a private Facebook group. It's called When Marriage Hurts. And I want to just implore anyone who's trying to join that group and they send the request on Facebook, please answer the questions before submitting your request. It's only about 3 or 4 questions about why you want to join the group, if you're a woman, and those kind of things. Please, and agree to the group rules if you really want to be a part of the group. When I get requests where people do not answer the simple questions and just send the request, I have to decline. And that is because, the group, we're not after numbers. I'm not necessarily trying to grow it super big or anything like that. I just want to provide a safe space where women can come and vent their issues or ask advice and that kind of thing. So it's very important to me that the only people that join this group are people who really need it. I'm not looking for people to join just because it's cool to join. No. So when someone doesn't answer the questions or agree to the group rules before they send the request, I have to respectfully decline. And I want you to know that if you're one of those people that have declined your request and you feel like you need to be a part of that group, please resend your request. But this time around, read through the group rules, see if you agree, answer the questions before you resend your request. It's a woman-only group, and you can post anonymously if you want to. We also have an Instagram account. That's When Marriage Hurts, but of course that's the public account where I just post on a few times a week. So that's it, ladies. I am hoping that if anyone's listening right now and what I've said on this episode kind of resonates with you and you think that you might be suffering some form of depression even though you're functioning at capacity, please speak to a professional and start taking good care of yourself. I hope you all have a wonderful week and God bless.